Okay, good morning, everyone. This is day 4 of week 2. We'll go ahead and continue learning about how to access data within data. So today we're learning about something called a 2D array. All right, they're nested arrays. They're arrays within arrays. So yesterday, when we were, well, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, we went over objects, right? And we learned how to access data within an object, and then data within an object. So for example, how would we access this grass within types of this monster object? Can anyone tell me?
Maybe monster dot types and then open brackets 1.
Yes, monster dot types and then open bracket. Let's say if we wanted to access poison or the first type of type that this Pokemon is, then we go like this. All right, this will access the value of types, and then the first actually, if we wanted to get grass, it would be the second position in the array. Okay, so that's how, just a quick reminder how we do that. So now we are going to go ahead and move to today's lecture. Just need to get a refresher because this way of accessing data is a bit similar. So as you can see here on the platform, we have this array called var R2D. And in this array, we have arrays. So this array has the array of 2, 5, 8. The second position at index 1 is 3, 6, 1. And the third thing in the array here, which is at index 2, is 5, 7, 7. Okay. If we wanted to console log the 8 in this array, this is how we would do it. So this 8 right here, if we wanted to console log it, we'd say R2D2, that's the array. And then we say at index 0, because that is the first array here, and then 2, because we count 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that is how we would access this specific 8 here. Okay. Let's just get a status check right now. Let's find out that if we are understanding this concept, because today's algo I don't think is too difficult. Okay. So we understand that the subarray is at position 0, because this would be the 0, below would be the 1, and then at the very end would be position 2. We just indented at every comma position here. Okay. And let's move along. All right, we could determine a certain value. Could we determine if a certain value was present? So how would we, writing a function, I think someone here, I'm going to mute you, Joseph. Could we determine if a certain value was present? Write a function called isPresent, and then we take in the array, which is in this case R2D2, and then we take in a value. So whatever random value that this invocation would call, we're going to find out if this exists in the array. So how would we do that? So that that returns true if the value is present and false otherwise. So let's go ahead and try and write this function. How would we go about doing this?
Would we create a variable for value as a Boolean?
Well, we'd have to create a function, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let me see here, pull up a new window. So here I have the same array. I'm going to console log. I'm console logging at this point. I'm console logging this one here at position 2. So 0, 1, 2. We are console logging this one here. Let me just make sure I have every other code here commented so I can console log and show you guys. Yep. Okay. So let's run this. This is running this, sorry. Let's just console log this. Yep, we get this position 1. Okay. Now, here I have a for loop. And we are going to iterate through the length of the R2D2 array. And for each iteration, we're going to increase. And then we say, let's see here. I need to invoke. Let's make it a bit similar to the way we're writing this here. We want to make a value. So I'm going to say is present 2D. Going to take an R2D2 and then the value. And then I'm going to create the function. I need to say function. Let's say array and then value. When I invoke it, I'm going to say is present 2D R2D. That's the array. And then the value, we're going to say 3. Okay, so we're going to iterate through this function. Let's just copy this whole thing here. Okay. Still need to change a bit of code, but we're going to get there. Okay. So we have a for loop. And we start at 0 like usual, and then we go through the length of the array. And then I'm creating this variable inner R, and I'm making it to equal R2D2 at I. So whatever I is in this array, this is the first index, this is the second index, and this is the third index here, 0, 1, 2. I'm going to say the inner array is going to equal that index. Okay, and then I say another for loop within the original for loop. Var at j, I'm going to call this a new index j because I comes after j in the alphabet. And I say it starts at 0. And while j is less than inner array dot length, and remember this is the same variable being called here, j++. And then we're going to console log R2D2 at I and then at j. That's how we are going to console log each iteration within this array. Now, how could we change this to find if this specific value, in this case 3, exists within this nested array? this 2D array. How could we change this function to do that?
Would you put an if loop in the second for loop?
Okay.
And then instead of console logging, it just checks if it's equal to value.
Okay. So in here we say if, and then let's get some more help here. So in this if statement, what are we writing?
If value.
If value. Okay.
The value at index J. Or can you repeat that? Can you go back and you just repeat the question again, please?
Yeah. So given an array here, here it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna call this function given the array and a given value. We're gonna return to see if that value is present in the array.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
So we're so close. We have this if statement.
So if value, oh, sorry, go ahead, Hector.
Oh no, I was just gonna say if value equals array to be at position J.
Equals array.
Well, do you want to double equals?
How about this, guys? I'm gonna give you this problem as the first problem in your breakout groups. Okay, so I've given you this much code.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take a screenshot of this. Let me extend it here. Remember, you have to do something with this array. This is not being invoked yet. You have to change some of the variable names here as well. Okay, so this is your first problem. Find if a specific value is in this nested array. Okay. I'll post this in the Discord or in the chat if needed. Okay, now let's move on to the second part. Given a two-dimensional array, so we know how to print the values within the array. This is what I was doing already. So ignore this if statement. This for loop within the original for loop is going to go ahead and print every single value in R2D. So given a two-dimensional array, an array containing arrays, return a new array containing just the values from inside the subarrays. Okay, don't assume the array will always be the same size or that the subarrays are always the same length. The array may be jagged, so it could be like this array I have here. It's not 3 by 3 by 3. This one has 3 index positions. This one has 4, and so on. So it could be a jagged like that. Don't use inbuilt methods like this array.prototype flat. Don't do that. That will solve the problem, but we want you to do the logic itself that this inbuilt function would do. Okay. You can use push and you can use pop. Whatever you feel like is going to be needed. Let's go ahead and get started with this. Here's some starter code as well. Okay, as you can see here, there's a variable called flat that will take in a new array value. So, I think this one may be easier than the first one, actually. So you're going to use push or pop to add to this flat array this existing array, this 2D array of arrays. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and assign you guys to breakout rooms. You guys can work together and solve both problems. Okay, the first one is how to determine if a certain value is within a nested array. And then the second one is to flatten the nested array to make it one single array instead of one array. So it would be, instead of an array that contains 3 arrays, 258, 361, 577. It's going to look like one array with all these numbers, 258, 361, 577. Okay, are we understanding this? Any questions? Okay.
Josh, before you assign the breakout rooms real quick, I'm gonna head down to the test room.
Okay, so you don't want to do this, Algo?
Yeah, just wanted to do just the overall check over it, but I wanna get back to taking the test, so
Okay. All right, then Christian, could you help me with that? I'm not sure you heard that. Okay, I'm gonna assign you guys to the rooms here just a second.
We can present if you'd like.
Anybody? Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So let me know when y'all can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. So basically, most of the code was there. What we really added was value equals the specific data point that we needed. And the specific data point that we needed was determined by I, which was the level of the first dimension, and then J, which is the level of the second dimension, depending on which array we're in. And so therefore value is equal to array at whatever I is and whatever J is. And that would then give you iterating through every single one of these numbers. So we console logged it, and we put the location in case you wanted to know where, and then we return true or false. If it doesn't get to this point, it won't return true. And so therefore it ends up returning false. And so we started with 3. And if we run that, yes, I can. So it says, so it printed off the number 3. So this was found at array 0 or array 1 space 0. So it found this 3, and it is true, returned true.
Nicely done. Okay.
Cool.
And would another group like to present for this one?
We didn't get to finish, unfortunately.
Okay.
I can do it.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So this one, basically, we were given the flatten function name, and we're going to drop in an array there. And so this is the array we're going to drop in. It's a 2-dimensional array. And basically, we took the almost exact same script from above. There was one thing we did to reduce a line, was instead of creating a variable for inner item or whatever, we just used the index of I, and so that eliminated the line. And then from there we just used the array that was created above and pushed each individual item onto the array, and then we returned that, and then that got us this right here.
Nice. Okay. So the group in workroom 2, did you guys get that?
Kind of.
Yeah, I can't remember if I was in group of 2 because we didn't finish it. We were
Yeah.
like super close.
That's Hector, your group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions then in that group about this answer, how this works?
Yeah, you want to try to explain that again? Just
Yep. Do you want me to explain it, Josh, or do you?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. So basically it all starts here with this function call. So this call is going to call this function here. Okay, and we're going to drop in this 2-dimensional array. And this is the same thing as the one we saw above. Oops, in that it's just written out flat. So it's the exact same thing as this. The only difference is it's flat. It looks like on one line. So once you put that into this function, we're going to do the same thing. This top line here is going to take that array. It's going to check for the length of the outer array. So the outer array has 1, 2, 3 arrays in it. So that's the first dimension, holds 3 arrays, because you could have an array that just had 1 item and then it would just be an array with 1 item, but each item is an array. So in order to get to these inner numbers, we have to have another for loop so the first for loop is going to say, which one of these do you want? And then the second for loop with J is going to say, which one of these do you want inside, depending on, is I 0? If I is 0, you're going to go for this one. If I is 1, you're going to go for this one. And if I is 2, you go here. And then if you're, let's say I is 0, but J is 0, this is I is 0, J is 0. This is I is 0, J is 1. This is I is 0, J is 2. So basically, this is a way to go through the whole array one by one, all the way down. And then once we do that, the first one is going to be pushed. So I0, J0 is going to be pushed into flat, this blank array that was created up here. So we're going to take each item out of this 2-dimensional array and push it into this empty array one by one. So it's going to do 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. And then this would be in. Then it's going to do 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. And then this will be in. And then it will do 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. And then that will be in. And then once it pushes it into this empty array, we return that array. And that array becomes result. And then result is then console logged.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Cool.
No, thank you.
Yep, anytime.
Is anyone not understanding this? If anyone doesn't get it, we should T-diagram this. This is something we hadn't done that we should have done at this point.
Yep. You want me to do that real quick?
Well, we're already going over time here. Let's just get some feedback. Let's get a level of understanding here, 1 to 10. Okay. Okay. So we're all pretty much getting it. Let me, you know what? Let's just T-diagram it just so we can all be 10s here.
All right. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just throw it up here. Zoom in a little bit. All right, so you got your values. You've got your, what is it? Your vars, your values, and your console log. So your first variable is going to be result. And well, that's where it kind of all starts. And then you've got your R2D, which is your two-dimensional array.
Maybe you want to whiten out the columns as well.
Yeah. And then, so that's the first thing that's going to go in is that. And then you have flat. And right now it's blank. And then you have I, which is your first iterative variable. Right now it's starting at 0. And then you've got J, something like that. So you can see it. And then J is going to start at 0. And then basically what's going to happen is at first they're going to be 0, and then you're going to put the first number in there. So as I and J are 0, 2 is going to be inserted into flat. And then as I changes to 1, or sorry, I is going to stay 0, but J is going to turn to 1. Then you're going to put 5. And then as this goes to 2, you can do 8. And then as this goes to 1, this goes back to 0. And then this 3, so 1, 0 is 3. And then this would go to 1. And this would be 6, because 1, 1 is 6. And then this goes to 2. 1, 1 is 1. And this goes to 2. And this goes back to 0. 5. 1. 2. And then once it has finished and looped through the whole initial array, it's going to return flat, and then result becomes flat. And then you console log result, which is that.
Okay. So let me just draw something here.
Sure.
Whenever you go through the first for loop, you immediately enter the second for loop, and you don't increase I until you've finished going through this for loop here. So J, while J is less than R2D at I, that's this here. We check the length as well, and we increase J as we go along. So that's why we see here 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. So it's going through this point 0, 1, 2, and then it does it a second time 0, 1, 2. But it goes through the second for loop before it increases the outer for loop. And that's why we have nested for loops, a for loop within a for loop. Okay. So does anyone have any questions? All right. Okay, then I think now is a good time to take a break, pause. We are going to learn today about APIs. So let's go ahead and meet back at 10:30 Mountain Time. So let's take like a 19-minute break here. Okay.
Cool.
To send out the survey as well.
Yes. Okay. I sent out a survey on Discord yesterday. This should have been filled by everyone who took the test. As soon as you finish the test to examine the survey, I'll go ahead and repost it on the Discord. Please fill it out during your break, and then come back and we'll go ahead and go over what APIs are. Okay. So thank
And
you very
those are
much.
filled out already. You don't need to fill it out like the second time. But if you forget that you have entered a survey, it's not a survey on a platform. It's more like a survey that we give you the link. So if you haven't done that yet, please do that because your comments is going to be important to us.
Is the survey for Christian separate from the one that was at the end of the survey you linked us yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah, two separate
Okay.
things. My survey, totally optional. It's always appreciated, but it is completely optional. So if you guys want to fill